Welcome to the Beyond the Classroom podcast. We are so excited to have our guest, Dr. Rob Stenson. He is the CEO of the Neurodiversity Education Research Center, or otherwise known as NERK, right?
That is correct.
So thank you so much for coming on the Beyond the Classroom podcast with us. I wanted to start by just having you give an introduction about yourself and kind of your journey to this point.
My journey to this point has been absolutely chaotic. It is not the exemplar of what I would say people should follow. I started off basically as a youngster working in family business, got very interested in human behavior. I would help my parents train their employees, and that's when I began to understand. Think of this, you've got a junior high kid and you're 40-something, and I'm teaching you how to use computer systems because they were brand new at the time. And I became very aware of the way people are motivated, what frustrates them. That just always interested me. But when it comes to autism, ADHD, neurodiversity as a whole, I didn't really have an interest. It never really all the way through my career, it never really was something that I was focused on. Education, yes, but I was a horrible student. So when I look at my grade school or junior high and high school, I was always told, hey, you're never going to amount to much. I was picked on a lot. And so I never really had that internal drive that said, hey, you're going to be something someplace along the line. But it was after I got out of high school that I went to college, was immediately put on probation, academic probation, because of my grades in high school. And I became passionate about education. I found my rhythm, so to speak, went on, got my master's, went on and got my doctorate. So the things that I was told I was never going to do, I did. So that to me was really, really exciting. And it was on a drive from one of the companies I was working for. I had just got out of one of the worst meetings I had ever been in. I'm a strategist. I look at problems. I was helping organizations get out of death spirals, of financial death spirals, to build their organization. And we were strategic planning during this conference. And somebody at the table turned to me and said, man, you really, really need to work on your personality. And I thought, geez, I thought the meeting was going good. We were talking about problems. I joke a lot. I have a great, ask me, I have a great sense of humor. But when I'm in strategy mode, I'm very hyper-focused. And I was driving home and I picked up the cell phone. I called my mom. I'm 50-some years old, calling my mom and saying, Mom, did you ever get me tested? Because I'm reviewing in my head my entire history of something's wrong with me. What was going on? Am I autistic? Am I ADHD? I have most symptoms of ADHD. And my mom laughs. She calls me Robbie. She goes, Robbie, there's nothing wrong with you. And I laugh. I said, okay, Mom, there's something wrong with me. And I had met Kenneth Mims, our founder of the Neurodiversity Education Research Center and the Science Prep Academy, and began talking through some things, and things began to click. All through my career, I would have meetings with individuals and talk about sales, and it would turn to the personal, and moms or dads would almost get emotional, oftentimes cry, when they would talk about their son or daughter who was autistic going through the education system. And this was over a period of years, and I'm like, there is something wrong with the system. That's what drew me in. That's what actually got me from this weird pathway into trying to understand the world of neurodiversity or neurodivergent individuals and education, and what is the problem with this system. I shouldn't be hearing this many people just breaking down emotionally about having to advocate so hard for their kids. So that was my strange route here, not only of self-identity, but also being able to identify and understand parents. I can understand that emotion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for sharing that background with us. So how did you land at NERK?
I was introduced to Ken and we began talking. I began working on the board. I spent 2 years working on the NERK board as the chair. And then in November of 2024, Ken and I switched roles.
Okay.
I think I took a demotion to be the CEO. So now I report to Ken
Yeah.
and just really had the passion. What I liked about coming into NERK and understanding this calling is it's a calling that found me.
Mm,
I wasn't necessarily looking for it based off
yeah.
my story. I wasn't looking for this. It's something that I said, okay, there needs to be somebody's got to step up, and there's great people in the community that do.
Oh, yeah.
But who's going to step up and take charge and try and make a difference in the world? So yeah, I'm trying to change the world.
I love it. And you are.
Thank you.
So tell us about NERK, specifically your mission. And then I know you have a lot of different programs. So talk us through all of what encompasses the research
Sure.
center.
NERK is really, really interesting. We focus on a couple of key components when it comes to research and advocacy
Mm-hmm.
and education. We're primarily focused on what's going on in the K through 12 education world. How can we make education better for neurodivergent individuals, whether that's autism or ADHD or the other complexities?
Mm-hmm.
We do that through research programs. We focus on workforce development.
Mm-hmm.
We workforce development practitioners. We work with businesses, talking about different components and understanding neurodivergent employees or potential hires they're going to have. And we work with the parents to navigate through this really rough process emotionally for them. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
passion-driven process, emotionally driven process, and then educators. We don't believe that the public school system is necessarily bad. It's just there is a lot that the public school system has to take on. And there are
Yeah.
specific issues and subject matter expertise and bandwidths that the system just can't absorb.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is such a passionate process between the families and the parents, sometimes we just need to have somebody come in and say, "Hey, let's explain what's going on. Let's mediate between the emotions." So we've done a lot of research, combinations with ASU. We can talk about that in a minute, of how curriculum is developed for autistic individuals. We help educators understand the nuances. We help businesses understand how to work with, how to interview individuals. And then we actually practice what we preach because we have the Science Prep Academy, which is a grade 6 through 12 program for neurodivergent individuals. So that's a combination of ABA, positive behavior
Mm-hmm.
systems, and workforce development. It's a STEM
Mm-hmm.
micro school. So we bring in a lot of fun things like robotics
Yeah.
and programming, Java. Give a lot of opportunities for socialization, competitions, Special Olympics for the body,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've expanded into what we call a grade 13 and an
Oh,
internship program.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have that issue of the problem is individuals who are neurodivergent are the least likely of all categories of people, whether neurotypical or any other disabilities, to not gain employment. So they're the most unemployed population we have. And we can, by research, we found that if individuals don't get work experiences in that high school category, the longer they delay, the more likely it is that they'll never enter the
Mm,
workplace. And
really
so
interesting.
it is, it's bizarre.
Is that the research that you've done with ASU?
The research that we did with ASU was on computational thinking.
Okay.
And so it combined having wearable technology into STEM
Mm.
coursework, helping individuals and teachers make STEM super interesting
Yeah.
for the students. We also took a look at workforce development and hiring practices.
Yeah.
Unintentional biases that occur
Mm-hmm.
during the interview process or oftentimes are due to just not understanding. If I don't look at you and I have an interview, the chance of me getting
How's
that
that gonna go?
interview
Yeah.
is almost none.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, there was a research not done by us that basically said almost every single time when there's a neurotypical candidate and a neurodivergent candidate in a Zoom call for a pre-screening assessment,
Mm-hmm.
the neurotypical almost always wins. But if you shut off the camera and have that
Oh,
same interview,
yeah.
the neurodivergent individual almost always wins. I mean,
Interesting.
if it was a competition and we were winning.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's just,
Oh, that
it's
makes sense.
interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is interesting for sure. Yeah. Is ASU involved with the academy?
So we have a partnership. We're just in our third and final year of a research project that is looking at that computational thinking. So
Okay. Yeah.
ASU is the lead researcher.
Mm-hmm.
We brought in a lot of the
Yeah.
schools, and we have folks that are on the research committee. We published, I think we're on our fourth or fifth. I think one additional paper was just published this last week, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that was our fifth one.
Okay.
And we have 2 or 3 additional papers in process that are related to this research. Again,
Yeah.
based off of computational thinking, based off of curriculum design within the classroom. How can you customize the curriculum, and then the workforce development component of how can you use training to help
Mm-hmm.
better understand the needs of the neurodivergent population.
Okay. So I know you've talked about some of the gaps in education. Where do you see NERK kind of filling in those gaps?
Well, we put it into practice, number one, with Science
Yeah.
Prep Academy.
Right.
And so if we build a model, if we have a model that could be replicated, what would that look like? How can we alleviate the pain and frustration that parents are going through? How can we reduce that those stressors? How can we help the student not only academically get to where they need to be, but socially and workforce? So we talked about the socialization skills.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about those. We go into the school system and we can talk about with teachers or administrators. Here are some practices that you could implement in order to just make the process a little bit better for the students and for the parents.
And so that was actually another question I had was how do you see, I guess, public education evolving to be more inclusive? Are you seeing that? And what would you say about that?
Again, I think the intention is definitely there. I think the way to get that to be better is to break down some of the silos that occurred. When I started analyzing this, I love to analyze things.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was taking this apart, there's a story about microphones. I took my dad's microphones apart when I was a kid, and I use that as an example to explain my craziness of I just like to see how things work. And so as I started going through this process to understand why does there seem to be a bit of tension between both the schools and the parents. And I was taking a course, a certification course, and one of the administrators within the school had the perfect statement because we're not required to.
Mm.
The law doesn't
Yeah.
make us. We have to show progress, but that progress is not necessarily defined. We don't have to, and the individual had expressed, we don't have to take your third party review or assessment of your son or daughter. We're not required to. We can deny any of those components. And those are adversarial conversations oftentimes that cause emotions to explode between the two parties. And so this is just a very emotionally charged. Who's the one that's in control? And until we get to a collaborative approach and an approach that understands these are equal shared stakeholders, and I would argue mom and dad probably have a larger stakeholder share in this discussion, that's going to continue to be a problem. I think the schools have done great jobs. We've seen it in Maricopa County, creating for all students different ways to integrate better curriculum to students, workforce development, socialization skills, the things that businesses complain about, the professional skills, communication skills. They're doing things that make those improvements. But honestly, I just don't know that there's enough bandwidth within the public school system to create all these customizations. You've heard the saying, you've met an autistic person, you've just met one autistic person, because they're all different. We're all different.
Right, we're all different, for sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense, for sure. So I guess I was thinking about if you could share a success story, maybe either from the school or from the research center, that you would like to let everybody know about. I thought that might be, maybe you've got lots of them.
There's so many. I get so, my wife gets, she's like, would you just calm down? Because I go to like our robotics competition, and I'll see our kids performing and competing in robotics. They build the robots, they program the robots, they're actually involved in the competitions. And if you've ever been to one of these, you basically get in this ring, and there's robots basically in the four corners, and there's a school in each of the corners, a competitive school. You've never met these people before.
Yeah.
Right? And you're competing. It's a co-opetition type competition where you all of a sudden have to work together with one
people
side you've never known against another side, and they've never known each other.
Yeah.
So it's neurotypical, typically individuals, and we're neurodivergent individuals. And what I love is our folks who are normally considered the introverted ones, they don't talk to anybody. They've got the socialization skills. They're out there making deals. They're integrating. They're identifying, okay, who do I want to partner with if I get to the end? And our teams, oftentimes, this last year, we went to the state champion. I think this was our third year in a row we've gotten to state finals. And a lot of the time that we got to the state finals was because of the socialization skills of where they were able to communicate and build a team with somebody they've not. Every company wants that. If I had when I look at the companies that I've run, if I had an employee that could learn to communicate, overcome their personal frustrations or stressors, and go out there and make those deals, that would be awesome. So those are fantastic. We have had so many times where we get parents that come up to us and said, I have been told my kid's entire life they're not going to amount to anything. They're going to be in a group home, and lo and behold, we've got one that just went off to GCU, is going for his degree. We've got another one that went to ASU for engineering. We've got students that are in the classroom now that have found their passion for STEM, for engineering, for programming, and they just are going crazy. One of our best programmers that we have is an individual that is not super communicative, a very, very quiet individual. But she does the best programming. She comes in there and gets it done, and way beyond her years in ability. So those are things that when I get frustrated of, man, there's so much to do. And then I look back and we go through these stories. I'm like, okay, I'm energized up again. Yeah. It's a big jolt of caffeine for me.
That's amazing. So what are the qualifications for kids to get into the science? It's Science Prep Academy.
Science
So
Prep Academy. So almost all of all of our students are receiving ESA funds.
okay.
Arizona is really,
Yeah.
really one of the leading states in the country that has that opportunity for the school choice programs. Individuals go get an assessment. Typically, they've already had one.
Right.
Most
Yeah.
already have one, and I just really got frustrated with the public school system and look for options.
Mhm.
That typically happens, in our experience, after
Mhm.
sixth grade, and that's
Mhm.
why we are a 6 through 12. There's a different series of of qualifications or needs or expertise, excuse me, for K through 5.
Yeah.
And there are folks that are really good at it. We're really good at 6 through 13.
Yeah.
So the qualifications are going through the assessment, going through the enrollment process with ESA. We do have some students that are not autistic. Maybe they're ADHD, and the state doesn't give as much for ESA vouchers for those individuals. And so typically we run scholarships for those or discounts for those
Mhm.
individuals.
Okay.
We have had, brother, sister, they want to stay together in the
Yeah.
education process. And so we will have times where there's a neurotypical student in with their sibling keep that continuity
Hmm.
between the family.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And the school is downtown.
So the
Yeah.
school, we operate out of the Salvation Army Croc Center, which
Oh.
is around
Yeah,
16th
yeah,
Street and
yeah.
Broadway
Okay,
area.
I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, little
Okay.
south of downtown.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. So how can families or community members become engaged with your mission? And like, do you need volunteers? What are some things that the community can do to be involved with NERK?
Right. As a nonprofit, one of the always the concerns is, financing. So we'll always take dollars, but what I tell my team on the regular is there's nothing that's more dear to individuals than their time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the opportunity for individuals with subject matter expertise, if you've got expertise in engineering or you've got programming skills, robotic skills, engineering skills, and things like that, we would love for individuals to volunteer, come in, mentor. Now, mentorship could mean a variety of things. It's based off of your time commitment that you can make. Maybe it's just coming in for an hour into the classroom and talking about your
Sharing, yeah.
role and how you work with robotics and in looking at how the students and making suggestions for how they could improve on their techniques and things like that as they're going into competitions. We have our Get Fit program, which is an adaptive sports program that's tied with Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep the motor skills and the self-image components going. We always are looking for individuals who have passion in that area that want to come in and talk to the students and keep their motivation levels higher. Those are great opportunities to get engaged with the population.
Okay.
And then there's a variety of other volunteerships that we need.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the listeners that we have, and possibly families may, not know about you and want to get in touch. So, what is the best way? We do, put your information in the notes section, but just looking at the website. Tell me again what it is.
So we have two websites. We have the Neurodiversity Education Research Center or neurodiversitycenter.org
Okay.
would be the website. That will link to the Science Prep Academy website as well. And Science Prep Academy, we're the only Science Prep Academy in town, so you can find that website. There you can see a series of forms to apply, send out contact information, or your listeners could easily just email me. I am super accessible. I put my phone number in LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
I get crazy amounts of spam, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be hidden. Our team doesn't want to be hidden. We want to be accessible for when parents and families need us.
So we'll put your email and just links to all of that in our description. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners about just anything that we've talked about that you want to, any upcoming events?
Yeah, we're very excited. We've got a few research. My research committee just approved 3 different research projects. So we'll be posting information about those research potentials. Those will be primarily looking at individuals in the K through 12 system, mostly in the high school system, of how we can reduce stress as they transition to the workforce. How can we use technology
Really important.
to help reduce those stressors? And so we'll be looking for opportunities to connect with parents, connect with families, and other educators in that process. I would say one of the hardest things for us in research is connecting with educators. And we've got a lot of individuals, teachers who are interested in it, but they're super busy. And the red tape of getting approval through the process. Some school districts require just the superintendent. Others require the school board to approve the research. So those are difficult components, but we'd love to be able to make those connections as we have research available. We are very, very excited. We've got our walkathon. That's this Friday, probably after this podcast is done. But those are opportunities where we get the community to come out to the Kroc Center, engage with the students, walk with the students. It's a fundraising, but really I get more excitement. I'm a horrible CEO when it comes to fundraising. I get more excited about the fact that the communities are integrating and engaging. It's very different once you see and connect with students, and then you really begin to understand what neurodiversity is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all that you do for this community. And I know you're also a professor and working with students in master's programs and doctoral programs at GCU, Lopes Up.
I am.
So thank you so much for being available to talk to us today and just for all that you do. We really appreciate you. And this concludes our podcast with Dr. Rob Stenson. We'll link all of the information in our bio. And thank you so much for listening.